Hell, you guys even have taco trucks. Now, for anyone wondering about taco trucks, let me just let you know right now. That is real good Mexican food. I don't want you being concerned, like, no, there's wheels under that restaurant. Well, sometimes we don't have a permit, okay? So, but it doesn't mean the food is not good. For me to know that I'm gonna have a good experience at a taco truck, I always research, and I look to see who's running the truck. For me to know that I'm gonna have a good time, I wanna make sure that it's an all-female crew. Not to sound sexist, it's just that when it's all women running the truck, they make me feel good about myself. They make me feel special. When I walk up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I have a buzz, they make me feel good. Hello? They come to the window. Hola, mi gordito, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo está ese gordito, chulito, este gordito? ¡Qué bonito! A ver, ojitos, ojitos, ojitos. I feel like a kid. I'm like, can I have a taco? Whatever you want me to get, I'll get it for you. Now see, when it's an all-Mexican male crew running the truck, it's late, they're tired, they're bitter. Customer service isn't our strongest point at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then you gotta deal with a drunk knucklehead like me. Hello? And they come to the window. ¿Qué chingados quieres, pinche gordo? What you want? What you want? Hey, what's up, bro? Can I have a taco? Okay, what else? That's it. That's not even a word. But you know exactly what he just told you. For some reason, Mexican people and only Mexican people have this sound that comes out of us that can just discredit anything you put in front of it. It doesn't matter what it is, we can kill it with that sound. I just graduated from college, top of my class. Well, fine, I'll work at Burger King.
Give it up one more time, right here.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. Of all the clips, you had to use the one where I only speak Spanish. Everybody's like, I don't even understand. Oh, that's cool. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being here, man. It's a pleasure to see you.
Man, I did not prepare for the weather, obviously. Some of you are looking right now like, I can see the hamster. Stop staring. I see you, ma'am.
Yeah, you didn't know that global warming was just going to end today.
Yeah,
in
no
New York
kidding.
City, right? It finally got cold.
I'm usually pretty good, but today was a very special cold day. Yeah, I was here last week and it wasn't this bad.
No, last week it was like 60 degrees.
Yeah, no, it was. I showed up like this and I was fine, but right now, freaking. Woo.
So the special is called "I'm Sorry for What I Said When I Was Hungry."
Yes.
What do you normally say when you're hungry? What have you had to apologize for?
I think a lot of us have had to apologize for saying things when we're hungry. I mean, you let someone go without eating for a while. Either if they're diabetic like me, your sugar gets all out of whack and it changes your mood. Ladies, some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't eat, you get hangry. You get hangry, you get bitchy, you get and then you find yourself in situations like me where I have to buy gifts. Yeah, I'd rather just buy the food. But yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that title because I think that's a lot of us.
Are you very good at once you get the food and you start eating, you can sort of reflect on the moments where you were a little hangry and you're like, oh, geez, I'm sorry that I went there a few minutes ago. I just hadn't eaten yet.
I'm instantly in a better mood. Like if I'm like, oh, and I hit a drive-thru and I get like a nugget and I just, as soon as I get the nugget, it's just like a baby with a freaking pacifier. You know, I'm all better.
You just start telling friends and family that you love them, just texting people. Like...
No. I don't even take it that far. No, I don't text family members unless I'm drunk. When I'm drunk, I text everybody. You know, I never liked you.
One of the bits that you have in the special that I thought was so interesting and so funny is a death hoax. There was a death hoax, right, where you found that someone wrote an article saying that you had passed away.
Yeah.
What on earth is that like?
Well, I think a lot of us now know about death hoaxes because you hear about people like Betty White. Every year, Betty White gets killed. She dies every single year, and then it comes out a couple days later that it was a hoax.
I feel that's usually just like a leaked obituary. Like what everybody has them written just in case, and then they just get leaked every year by accident.
In my case, I think it wasn't so hard to believe that I could have kicked the bucket because I'm not the healthiest person in the world. And so, of course, when they put a story out there that said that I died from complications of type 2 diabetes, it was very believable. Like, it was a really good, well-written article. Like, even I was like, oh, my God, I was so nice. It was just, it was touching. And it went viral. TMZ called me up to confirm that I was still alive.
What did you just say? Well, you were just like, I am.
Yeah, no,
here.
I'm good. And I didn't know what was going on. And they're like, we just want to make sure we're confirming a death hoax. What? And so it was, I cleared it up with them, and then they pulled it off the site.
Was it scary for you? Did it sort of make you think about your death a
It
little
was
bit?
bizarre. It was really bizarre because it's one of those things where I think everybody deep down has that fantasy of attending your own funeral just to see who would show up and what they would say about you.
100%.
And I got a taste of that. I got to read the Facebook feeds from people that thought that, that I had really died. And I'm like, wow. It was very touching.
Was there anyone in the Facebook feeds who dropped something? I mean, because in feeds of any kind, there's usually a troll. Did anyone even in the midst of a death hoax say something like, good, never liked?
There was a couple, yeah. There was a couple. What are you going to do? I almost felt like writing back, like, I was still here and now I'm haunting you, like. But yeah, it's one of those things where you got to be in a really good position for people to want to do that to you, and it was just kind of like one of those, like, all right, I guess I'm at the death level.
Yeah, that's how I would imagine that. Like, even no matter how famous or successful you get as an entertainer, there's always an insecurity that you have to go further. But when a death hoax comes out, you're probably like, oh my God, I am famous. Someone wanted to say that I was dead.
When I asked my son, I said, did you hear I died? And he goes, that's what they meant. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, my friends were asking about you. I go, well, what'd they ask? Well, if you were okay. I said, well, what'd you tell them? He said, I hadn't seen you. Thanks.
He was verifying your death.
Oh, yeah, but he didn't know. He didn't, and I figured he would have been one that would have caught that because he's, he likes social media, but no.
So is it, forgive me if I'm wrong, is this your first special for Netflix?
My first Netflix special. That's first exclusive Netflix special.
All the other you have other specials on Netflix that you can watch. But
Netflix spent some money and they licensed some of the other specials, but this one was made especially for Netflix.
Yeah, their specials are beautiful looking. Nobody's producing specials like this. They look
in the beginning they had one or two people that tried it, and they just all of a sudden ramped it up, and Netflix is definitely the number one place for stand-up comedy now. It used to be Comedy Central. And for a while, it was Comedy Central and HBO, and then Netflix just came in and took everybody, And this year, I don't know if you guys heard, but they got Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle to commit to specials.
Like Dave Chappelle's committing to, I think, several specials.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money for Chappelle. I want to say it was $60 million for Chappelle and $40 million for Chris Rock's next special, next two. Yeah, and me, I broke even. Until they came along, I had the best deal with Netflix.
Really?
Yeah, and it was one of those where it was a good amount, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm quitting comedy tomorrow because they just gave me that much. And then when I saw the articles, it said what they paid Chris. I was just like, what? And my manager goes, well, look, man, it was a bidding war between, HBO and Hulu and Netflix. Everybody was out to get them. I'm like, well, we need to make more friends.
Also, like, can't beat the Kings. Like, I've done well, but can't beat the Kings.
Yeah, no, you can't. So, I'm very fortunate because Netflix.
Very good company.
They did get behind me with the special, with the promotion, with, just with everything. They're really, really giving me a good push for this special.
So when you're going out to do a special like this and you've got someone behind you and there's a good push going into it, what is your, when they pitch the special to you, are you already in the midst of perfecting the material that's going to go into it? Or do you say to yourself, okay, I've got this, let me go 6 months on the road or 6 months sort of like working this material out?
When I was approached for the special, it was about a year ago. And so I had a whole year to get ready for this,
All new material that you hadn't done?
All new, yeah. I haven't. None of this stuff has ever been on the other specials.
How do you start? Is it something where you get on stage and start finding things that you've been observing and then you start perfecting those into jokes that'll work? Or do you have a lot of written material that you then work out on stage?
Nothing I've ever done on stage has ever been on a piece of paper. I've never written out any of that material. I don't have the discipline to sit and write. So what I got to do is I got to go up on stage and then I'll just throw stuff out there. And if you guys laugh, then I keep it. And if not, then I try again the next day. And if by the third time it still doesn't get a laugh, then I just scrap it and keep all the stuff that does get the laughs.
How precise are you by the time that you get to the special at the end of the year? Like when this is being shot, I don't know if they shot multiple.
We shot it twice, and both times it was a little off. Like if you put them side by side, you're like, he must have been high, because the timing was off on him and everything. So we liked the second show better. That was a better pace, and the crowd was a lot more into it.
So it's still fairly, I mean, as much as you have your jokes, it's still fairly off the cuff each performance.
If it's too scripted and it's too precise, I'm going to perform it more like a robot instead of having more fun with it. That's why I like the fact that it's an idea of what I got to say, but it's never exactly the same verbiage.
Was there ever a time in your career where you had to sort of figure out how you worked better? Like you were trying to be more precise and working something out, and then you went up and did it, and you were like, this is way too robotic for me in the audience right now?
Well, when I first started, all the shows were just me doing impressions and characters, and I didn't really talk about myself. It was just, for example, one of my first jokes when I started in '97 was I was doing dirty jokes. I was doing like cartoon impressions of like Marvin the Martian having sex with Bugs Bunny, which it's already funny, right? So I'm standing up there, and I could never do this stuff on TV, but for a bar, it was perfect. I'm up there, and I'm like, oh my modulator, oh. And see, I was funny then. So, but it wasn't about me. I wasn't able to be myself on stage. It wasn't until later on where I got comfortable one day, and I just started talking about, me being me and being a big guy out trying to meet girls, and one thing led to another, and the whole fluffy thing started. And I just rode that wave, and I branded it.
So it's essentially like once you got the initial laughs and you realized you were funny, you were like, okay, now I can be myself and see if I can be funny doing that as well.
It took a while to get comfortable in my own skin, no pun intended. But again, I think it was more of a defense thing where I didn't really want to show who I was. I just wanted to make people laugh no matter what, which is why I would just stick to the, people love impressions, people love voices. When I first got exposure to comedy, it was Eddie Murphy, and all I saw was Eddie Murphy doing impressions and characters, and I loved it, and everybody else is going crazy, so I said, that's what I want to do.
And the best thing about Eddie Murphy is when you get later into his stand-up, when he was doing stand-up, is he ends up weaving a lot of those impressions into his personal stories.
That's exactly what happened, and so eventually that's what I started doing. I just started telling real stories about myself, and then I just started incorporating characters and sound effects, and so instead of saying, oh, yeah, I was hanging on the corner and then this car showed up, I'd be more like, yeah, so there I was, and all of a sudden, and the girl was like, oh, my God, it's you. And see, automatically, you've already painted a picture, and you're like, whoa. And I have kids telling me, you're like a cartoon. Cartoons are cool. I don't know. I mean, my whole goal was just to make people laugh and feel comfortable doing it. And people say, oh, well, you self-deprecate, you talk about your weight, you talk about your weight, you talk about your weight. And it's one of those things, I address it, and I think I did used to really, really do that, but I try to just touch on it now. For example, in the special, there's no mention of the word fluffy in the title, but we still kind of got an idea with that title. You know what I mean? Yeah. of who it is.
Was there a reason that did you sort of want to shy away from being as self-deprecating about your weight when you, in this special or moving forward with your comedy?
It was more so I wanted to make it more of a celebration of who I was as opposed to making it a negative thing. I get a lot of people that tell me, you know what? I used to be really down about just being, overweight, and man, you make it fun, and you're just out there, and you don't care, and you're very confident with who you are. And, thank you for that. And I'm like, oh, man, I've been doing this wrong. And that really helped out a lot.
Well, it's so interesting because at the beginning of this conversation, Dave Chappelle was brought up, and he just recently, I guess maybe 5 or so years ago, got back into stand-up after leaving for a while because he wasn't sure how his comedy as a black man was sort of affecting the audience. Were people laughing at him or laughing with his jokes? Mm-hmm. And for you, being a Mexican-American, overweight, how do the jokes about me affect my audience? Which audience is with me? Which audience is laughing at me? Did you have those feelings as well for a while?
Not that much. Already you're making me think way more than I thought about it in the past. And I think that was one of the keys to the success of my stand-up career is that I tried not to overthink things and just try to go and have fun with it. And I think if the people see that you're having a good time, then they're going to have a good time. And if they see self-doubt, then they're going to have doubt about laughing.
You told me in the green room, and I didn't know this, you shot a scene for Narcos on Netflix.
Yes.
What are you doing in Narcos? That's amazing.
That's right, you guys. I snuck into an episode of Narcos. Yeah, that was one of the little Netflix things when I got pissed off and I called him up and I said, "Really, Chris Rock, 20 million, fluffy, nothing." You know, I need something. Give me an episode of Netflix or Narcos, and they're like, "Okay, if that'll calm you down." And so they made some phone calls to the Colombians, and next thing you know, the Mexicans snuck in there, and we did an episode last week here in town. Wow. That's why I was in town last week shooting a scene.
Can you give us a little?
And it was the one episode they didn't shoot in Colombia. I'm like, really? You couldn't send me to Colombia? No, it's gonna be hard to get you back.
Can you give us a taste of what they had you doing? What your character is?
Well.
Like,
the show
hey,
is
and then you
the
go.
show is Narcos, so I mean, there's a good chance I'm playing some type of drug dealer. But this was one of those things where I wanted to be on the show because it's a cool show, it's a popular show, and I just wanted to get killed on screen. I wanted to get killed on screen. That was part of the requirement. I want to do one episode. I want to get killed on screen, and I want to have a cool line.
Are you shot? Do you get?
Oh yeah, I get blasted.
Had you ever done that before?
I've been shot at, but it never connected.
'Cause I shot a sketch earlier this year where we had squibs,
Yeah.
and I got to die, and it was the greatest thing ever.
And when they do it in slow mo, it's even better.
Oh, it's amazing! Like there's nothing feels more movie-ish than the exploding
Yeah,
blood
the
squibs
freaking squibs.
and like having to die on the ground.
It was awesome. They played it back for me, and in my head, all I could hear is freaking, as I'm dying, getting shot up, freaking, Ave Maria. You know, and I'm getting cussed at in Spanish. Mal parido, que se muera, que se muera. So, the whole scene itself, okay? Narcos, you would think it's a TV show. You would think it wouldn't take that long to shoot individual scenes, but this one scene took, I want to say, 16 hours to choreograph because a lot of people get shot up in this scene, and so they had to have different angles plus the squibs. After I got killed and fell, they had to put a mat on the floor so I could drop. I love the fact that they had these the director and everybody else that's there as far as the production. Very, very legit. They're Colombians, and you can hear the accents, and they're running this. The people that they have running all the pyro and the explosives and stuff like that, anytime something gets blasted, are these guys that I forget where they're from, but you can tell that the two only hang out to do this. You know what I mean? Because you hear the Colombians like, mal parido, aquí nomás, and the explosive guys are like, okay, we're going to put some charges on him right here. And when he gets shot right here, it's going to be straight across. And they're like, okay, he's going to get shot. Yeah, we're going to shoot him right here. And they're looking right at me as they're saying it. We're going to shoot him right here. And I'm like, wow. And so this guy comes over to me, and he's trying to coach me on how I'm going to die. He goes, look, you're going to get shot by a 9mm, okay? 9mm ain't going to take you off your feet. If you were getting shot with a shotgun, you'd fly, so we'd have a pulley behind you, and you'd fly. 9mm, you're a big guy, you're going to take some hits. So and he looked at me, he goes, you want to do that salsa thing. Okay? When you're getting hit, you want to do salsa, and then you're just going to do a face plant. And so I had to rehearse the face plant like 6 times before they said, okay, you're falling at the right speed.
What did you want to say when he said the salsa thing? Were you like, you think that's like the only choreography that I can...
Normally, you see me right away. Normally, I'm quick to speak up and be like, hey, dude, that's not cool. But this guy knows a lot about explosives, and I've got stuff attached to me. So,
It's true, that is true, yeah.
Yeah,
you don't want to
he's
piss him
got
off.
my life on an app. You know what I mean? That's it right there. And click,
Right.
click.
Like, oh, you don't like the way that I talk? We'll see how this goes.
So, well, what's funny is, so I get blasted, I fall, and I got to stay down on the ground for they're shooting different angles, so they need to see the dead body on the floor. And then they had to move me out of the way so they could position the camera so the other guy can get shot. So I had to stand by and wait for them to need me again. And I'm like, can I be excused? And they're like, no, we still might need to, use you for something. So I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And 2 hours later, they finally released me from the shoot. At this point, the squibs, all the stuff that's the chemicals, it's like pancake syrup mixed with red dye, so it does look like blood. 2 hours later, this is all stuck to me. So now I'm trying to change, but I can't because every time I lift the shirt, it's like I'm trying to do a full bikini wax across the front. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll wait till I get back to my hotel room, and then I'll jump in the shower and let the water run, and I'll just, I'll unstick it. So my manager and I are heading back to the hotel, and at this point, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and we haven't ate in like hours. And so we're like, hey, man, let's stop by a deli or something. And so we walk in the deli, And as soon as I walk in, you got to figure, I'm all blasted up. I mean, the shirt was like a light blue, and it's just blood red, and the holes are there from the shots.
It's not just blood. It's like this weird splatter of holes.
And so,
yeah.
and the little blood, all over the pants. And so I walk in, the freaking doo-doo, and the guy turns around and sees who's walking in, and my manager walks in. My manager is as white as you. Looks cool. He's not threatened at all. And then I walk in with the Biggie Smalls hat, a big gold rope chain, and my whole chest is all shot up. And so he looks at me, and I look at him, and I go, hey, where you got your Band-Aids? And what killed me is the guy was like, this aisle right here, this aisle. You get the Band-Aid. And I could hear him talking to the other guy like, yeah. And so I'm trying to get him to make me a sandwich, and the whole time they're making the sandwich, they're just looking at me and just making. I go, look, dude. I go, I was just on a TV show. It's all fake. I didn't really get hurt. I go, it's fake. And the guy goes, I know it's fake. I know. I tell, it's fake. You could tell. It's fake. Yes, fake. Mustard? Okay, mustard. So when I go back to the hotel, and I jump in the shower with all my clothes on because everything is covered in this stuff. And I let the water run, and the water and the floor is just painted red. It's like an ocean of blood. It's like that scene from the movie Carrie. Back in the late 70s, freaking plug it up. Some of you got that reference.
Oh, I did. I have a big love Carrie.
Yeah, it was pretty, but it was a cool scene though, And again, they killed me in slow motion.
Oh, there's nothing more fun than doing that. Than like doing the squib thing and then getting to watch it happen in slow motion. You feel iconic. You feel like James Caan in The Godfather.
It's really, really cool. I know people are like, really? You're excited about dying? I'm excited about dying because I'm not really dying, but it looks cool. Like I want to send that freaking video image to all my ex-girlfriends and be like, here's your wish. But I'm still here, yeah.
I have to ask, one of my favorite movies from last year, or was it the year before, was Magic Mike XXL. I thought they did...
That was one of your favorite movies?
I thought they did an amazing job.
Yeah.
That series of movies is so funny and so much fun. It looks like everybody's having an amazing time.
The cool part is that everybody is having a great time, and the camaraderie was real. There was no can I cuss on this?
Yeah, you can cuss.
There was no assholes involved in the filming. Everybody was just getting along great. There was nobody being recluse or being over here or over there. Everybody was hanging out, and so the camaraderie was really, really nice. Everybody got along really good. I had fun in that movie too because they let me crash a van. Yeah. I think I'm just a big ass kid. He wants to die. He wants to crash cars.
No, these are the best parts about being in movies or TV shows. Is like doing all these things that you would never want to do in real life.
They had me doing ecstasy and then driving, and then I hit a tree, and then I wind up in a hospital in a gown with no back on it, so I get to show my ass, which was kind of cool. Some people didn't like it. Whatever.
What did you think when you were first cast in that movie, and then, because you were in the first one as well, so what did you think when you were first cast in that movie, and then they made another one and you were in it, and you had dance sequences?
Yeah, when they told me that they wanted me to dance in the second one, I'm like, I cannot get in that good a shape that quick. They got me to, it was the funniest thing, they got me to wear heels for the sequel. I got to wear heels in the scene where we're at a drag queen club, and I basically win the contest because I go backstage and I put on this Chiquita Banana headdress, and then I put on these heels, and I run out and I start dancing. I had to actually go through heel training. So imagine a 350-pound man wearing heels that were about 12 inches high, and by the end of my training, I was able to go upstairs, downstairs, I could squat, I could lay flat on the ground, I could get back up on my feet. I could put on a pair of heels right now and run around, literally. And it was one of those things where I will never, ever use this again until I got a phone call from Lip Sync Battle. And when I got a call from Lip Sync Battle, they're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, they're like, do you have any specialties? Yes, I do. And
isn't that Channing Tatum's show too?
Lip Sync? No, that's LL Cool J.
Oh, LL Cool J. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. But no guy had ever worn high heels on the show. And I went all out. I shaved the goatee off. I had full makeup. They put some prosthetics over my real ones. And I got to wear the heels. And I did a song by Donna Summer called Hot Stuff. Yeah, and I went up against Randy Couture, and I won. Luckily, that's the only way I can ever beat Randy Couture at anything. I'm a hotter chick than he is.
Better in heels.
Yeah, better in heels.
Let's open up to the audience for some questions. Who was right here, sir?
Well, I just want to take the time, Mr. Iglesias, to say you are hysterical.
Thank you.
You are an inspiration to all the Latino nations, and for one, I'm very proud of you. You know, you didn't let no one, because for me personally, people talk about weight and everything else, but you show once you go fat, you never go back. You got to come back. Welcome back. And of course,
Thank
when you
you.
go Spanish, you never want to vanish, and I wish I could vanish with you. So props
Can I
to
borrow
you, man.
that? Once you go Spanish, you never
Please
want to
do.
vanish?
You're Latino. You don't need my permission. Just do it. And I'm not even going to sue you.
He just gave me permission to rob him
No,
of
no.
that.
No.
You don't even, just do it.
Just do it. We're Latino. You don't need my permission. If it was someone Caucasian, no, you need my permission. So go ahead, man.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Next question and/or statement.
All right, my man.
you
It
doing?
takes a brave guy to wear shorts this time of year in New York City, so respect, bro.
Thank you.
I think it'd be crazy if we didn't talk about your love for professional wrestling. You're one of the industry's biggest supporters. I know you appeared on SmackDown in tribute to the troops this week. What was your experience like working with the WWE?
My experience working with the WWE was amazing because a lot of times they'll have celebrities on the shows and they could care less about the business. They could care less about the product. They could care less about the entertainment value that comes along with it. They're not really the big. They'll say they're fans because they might have caught it once or twice on television. But I mean, I truly love professional wrestling. I grew up on it. I've been watching wrestling since 1987. You know, the fact that I know all these different WrestleManias, all these different wrestlers, I have a true love and passion for it. And so when they started doing that whole thing where they'd let celebrities come in and guest host the wrestling shows, I'm like, I got to find a way to get in there. And I was trying for 5 years to get on Monday Night Raw. And I got close a couple of times, but they're like, no, we'll pass on him and we'll get Dr. Phil. Because when you think professional wrestling, you think Dr. Phil. You know, and Dr. Phil's out there like, okay, look here, Stone Cold. The problem with you is, and then Stone Cold's like, who the hell got this sumbitch to come out here? You know? It made no sense to me, and I would get annoyed. Other comedians would get opportunities to go on the shows, and they'd mess up the names of the wrestlers, and I'm like, why are they there? They're only there because wrestling is now very, very popular, and they want to go push their product. And so I made it a point when I did these shows, the SmackDown and the Tribute to the Troops show, I just wanted to do it. You know, other people are like, when can I go? I'm like, when can I take pictures with the wrestlers? I was that guy. I was stalking them right outside their dressing room, and I'm just waiting. I'm that creeper right there. And some of them walk out in towels. I didn't care. I'm like, hey. And take a picture. Waist up. You got it, bro. Let's do it.
Is that where you truly fanboy out? Because I'd imagine you've met a lot of celebrities now. I mean, the Magic Mike's that's had huge celebrities on them. But is wrestling where you really become the guy that's like, selfie, please, please?
I took selfies with probably 20 wrestlers this week. I love it. I did an impression of Stone Cold Steve Austin earlier. I know Stone Cold now. I can't say that we're buddies because we don't talk all the time, but if I call him, he always picks up. And I got to do his podcast. He does a podcast once a week. And I got introduced to him by another wrestler named Diamond Dallas Page, who's a guy who also is a yoga. He teaches yoga now. He does a thing called DDP yoga, and he's the one that helped me lose 100 pounds in the beginning. Now, obviously, I've stopped doing yoga. So I got to get back on it. But he introduced me to Stone Cold Steve Austin. So he calls me up one day, and I get on the phone, and he's like, bro, listen, man, I'm talking to Steve. I go, Steve? Austin. I'm like, he thinks you're funny. He wants to have you on his show. Can I give him your number? And I'm like, yeah, you go ahead. He's going to call you from a 310 area code. I'm like, cool. So I hang up the phone with him, and like not even a minute later, and I'm looking at the phone, and it's 310, and then the number, and I'm just like, my heart's racing, like, so I'm like, I answered it, like, hello, and it's him. And see, the thing with most wrestlers is that a lot of times they're characters in wrestling. They got a gimmick. This is their character. This is their persona. But Stone Cold Steve Austin is really Stone Cold Steve Austin. That is not an act. That is his real personality. So that's what you get. It's not like on stage, he's like, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. And when he gets off stage, he's not like, hello, my name is Steven. I am a professional wrestler part-time on the weekends. He's really that guy. And so he calls me up and he goes, is this that sumbitch they call Fluffy? And I'm like, did he just call me a sumbitch? And I'm like, yes. Hey, man, Stone Cold Steve Austin coming at you. Look here, man. I'm watching your videos here, and, Dallas, DDP. Dallas is here, and I can hear DDP in the background. Hey, bro. And in my head, I'm like, why didn't he just hand him the phone? Whatever. Wrestlers like their own phone. So he tells me, he says, listen, man, I think you're funnier than hell. I want to have you on my show. How's Tuesday sound? I go, that sounds great. All right, I'll text you my info. And so he texts me his address and the time to be, at the location. Come to find out, it's his house. We live 30 minutes away from each other. And so I get in my car and I leave early because I do not want to be late to Stone Cold's house. I pull up and I see the house. I'm like, okay, but I don't want to be a creeper out in the front yard, just kind of, waiting. So I says, I can't show up to Stone Cold Steve Austin's house empty-handed. I said, I passed a Bevmo. Do they have those out here? Basically a glorified liquor store. And I says, I passed the liquor store on the way over here. I got to go back and show up with some goodies. So I go back there and I pick up a 6-pack of Coors because Stone Cold Steve Austin was known for the cans of Coors and drinking them. Jack Daniels, because I figured he liked Jack Daniels. And I took some tequila in case he wanted to hang out with a Mexican. So I pull up to his street, and as soon as I make that left and I start driving, I see him out of the corner of my eye. And he still dresses the exact same way. He's wearing a camouflage T-shirt, jean shorts like the ones I'm wearing, and a camo hat, and he's wearing sunglasses, and he's just standing out there looking around. And I geeked out so bad that I kept driving. I drove right past him. I get to the end of the block, and I'm like, oh my God! I'm geeking bad. I'm just breathing, and so I turn the car around, and I come back, and I pull up right in the front. He's saving me a spot. And I get out of the car, and I'm like, I'm trying to be cool, right? Not trying to mark out, not trying to geek out. So I'm like, hey, did you just drive by me a second ago? Yeah, I did, man. Hey, man, I was waving at you. Oh, man, that camouflage shirt is really good. He goes, well, get in here, man. And so I grab the bags of goodies, and I close the door, and I start walking. He goes, come on, hurry up. Get in here. I can't let people know I'm waiting for a Mexican. Oh, what? I'm just kidding. Get your ass in here. So I go inside, and he closes the door, and we go in, and he goes, listen, man, I don't want to waste any gold, okay? Let's just get on the mic, and let's start talking. And so he walks me into his little man cave area. He's got a really cool man cave where he's got pictures all over the walls of him and just every major just celebrity you can think of, from presidents. He had pictures of him and Ali, pictures of him and all these political figures, other wrestlers. Just, it was a wall of fame, and it's Stone Cold's in all the pictures. And so we sit down at his desk. He's got his little recorder, and he gives me the headphones. He puts headphones on. He turns on my mic, turns on his mic, and he just starts. Everybody, Stone Cold Steve Austin coming at you here with my weekly podcast. I'm joined with comedian Fluffy. You might know him as Gabriel Iglesias, but he's Fluffy to me. How you doing, Fluffy? And I'm like, hey, what's up, Steve? And I'm geeking out already, right? And he goes, what the hell you got there? You got your little gimmick? What is that? I go, I brought you some gifts. And I pull out the Jack Daniels, the Coors, and the tequila. And he goes, God damn. Looks like I'm not making it to sushi with my wife. Next thing you know, he goes, well, crack it. We start drinking on his podcast. And about 20 minutes into it, the shots are kicking in. And we're just like, we're chilling. We're talking about comedy. We're talking about wrestling and all the similarities about being on the road and hotels, being away from family. A lot of similarities with professional wrestling and comedy. And next thing you know, he looks at me and he goes, hey, Fluffy, is something wrong with your hand? I'm like, no, nothing's wrong with my hand. Well, pour me another damn shot. Sir. So we keep drinking and talking wrestling, drinking and talking wrestling, drinking and talking wrestling. And by the end of the interview, we're just laughing. We get up, we're hugging each other. It was the best time. Stone Cold Steve Austin's my favorite wrestler of all time. And now I'm drinking and hanging out with him at his house. And I'm drunk. And I'm like, this is the best day ever. So he goes, Fluffy, you okay? You driving? I'll call Uber. Did you say Uber? Uber. So I says, listen, man, I go, can I use your bathroom? And he goes, all depends. On what? Number 1 or number 2? Oh, dude, it's all liquid. He goes, you can use my personal bathroom. And I'm like, ah! He walks me into his bedroom and into his personal bathroom. And he goes, all right, man, don't forget to flush. I'm like, oh, thank you. So I walk in, and I'm doing my number 1, right? And for some reason, the Coors, the tequila, and the Jack Daniels had a little disagreement. And they said, you know what? Yeah, it's the little timer got set. Like, mentally, when you know you got to go and you know about how much time you have before there's going to be an issue.
It flips.
Yeah, it flips. So my body told me, you're going to make it maybe to the car. And so I says, all right, do I mess up my car, or do I face getting hurt by Stone Cold Steve Austin? So I says, you know what? I usually take, and I don't want to get graphic, but I usually take about 20 minutes when I'm in the facilities doing the ding. But but I powered it. I freaking pulled my pants down and just, ah! And I tried to clean, get myself ready. And sure as hell, he comes knocking on the door, Hey, Fluffy, you okay in there? Yeah. You ain't shitting in there, are you, Fluffy? And I was just like, I'm sorry. I could hear him like, God damn. Didn't I tell you? And he just starts cutting a promo on me from outside the bathroom door. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. So I clean up, and as soon as I open the door, he hits me in the face with 2 Lysol cans. It's, man, my wife's going to come back here. She's going to ask questions. I thought you only had to go. I'm like, oh, man. But for me, even though he yelled at me, it was one of the greatest moments of my life. And it's my love for professional wrestling that moment happened. And because of comedy, it allowed me to meet somebody like that. So, yes, to answer your question, SmackDown Live was awesome.
Well,
sorry.
that is amazing.
This couldn't happen on TV. They'd have been like, cut to commercial.
It's not every day that you get to take a shit in your hero's bathroom,
It isn't. It isn't. So, I mean, it was one of those things where it was really cool. And I'm a huge fan, and fortunately it went well. And if they invite me to come back, I'll be there in a second.
Shit in the other bathroom, too. No.
So I did Stone Cold's podcast for a second time. And when I went back the second time, right, first thing he asked me was, you already went, right? Yeah, I already went. We went on for an hour. We told some stories and we did the podcast for an hour. And at the end of the hour, we says, all right, everybody, tune in next week when we're going to bring a special guest. And he just stops talking. And he looks down and he goes, Fluffy, I am so sorry. And I'm like, what's wrong, Steve? I forgot to hit record. After the hour, he realized that the thing wasn't blinking. And he goes, I feel like the dumbest sumbitch alive right now. And I'm like, I would never say that, but yeah. So
you need to get an assistant.
Yeah, so we had to record it again. And, it wasn't the same, but we went through it. But I thought it was funny that for a whole hour, he didn't realize.
Well, man,
And he was mad because I was late. And he goes, man, I got things to do. And I'm like, and at the end of that, I'm like, really?
I got to let you go, man. But the new special, I'm sorry for what I said when I was hungry, premieres on Netflix December 20th.
Next week.
Is there anything else that you would like people to tune into, check out for it?
By the way, all my social media, if you ever want to find me online, I'm the easiest person to find. All you need to do is Google the word Fluffy. I am the #1 thing that pops up. I beat out bunnies, quilts, comforters, cotton candy. I challenge you to try it. Google or Bing or anything, search engine, the word Fluffy, and I'm the first thing that pops up. Make sure you type in Fluffy, not Fluffer, because that's a different kind of entertainment.
Gabriel Iglesias, everybody. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.